Hello and welcome to today's video lecture of object-oriented programming using Java with the paper code CS504A. This is Shaini Chandru, Assistant Professor of Department of Computer Science and Engineering of Guru Nanak Institute of Technology. Let's look at today's lecture contents. Today we will discuss about static keyword, how static keyword can be used in a Java program. Then we will be discussing about nested class and how nesting of class generates the concept of inner classes in Java. So let's start with the concept of static keyword in Java. In my previous lectures, I have already discussed about static keyword in Java. We have already seen that the static keyword is used whenever we use main method because the signature of main method says that there should be a static keyword before it. So we all know that using static keyword means that we want to access something without creating an object. As we all know that using static before main is mandatory. That's because of the reason that if you want to access main, then you should not you should not create any object. That's because main should be accessible from anywhere, because we know that a program execution starts from main. So main should have access to everything. That means every other classes that are there inside the program, every other programs that are related to that program, even the JVM should have access of main. But in order to get its access, everyone has to create its object. Then only every other classes or every other programs can access the main method. But creating object everywhere is not possible, and it is not at all a feasible solution. That's why we have used the static keyword before main, so that we don't need to create any object in order to access main. So the basic concept of static keyword is that whenever we want to access something, it may be a variable, it may be a block, it may be a method, or it may even be a class also. Whenever we want to access these things, if we don't want to create any object, or if the requirements is something like that, then we can use static keyword before it. That means static keyword can be placed before a variable, before a method, before a block, and before a class. So today we will see each of these four concepts where we can use static keywords one by one. So the basic thing is that we have to access something without creating any object. Now let's see what are the restrictions that we should keep in mind while using static keyword in Java. So let's start with static variable first. Suppose I have declared a variable named a, which is an integer variable, and I am placing this static keyword before it. So this is known as a class variable only when it is directly written under a class. So let me write it down. Suppose you have written a class like this, and then just like instance variable declaration, you have written a variable declaration here, but with a static keyword before it. And the rest of the programs are there inside the class. Now, whenever you are placing the static keyword before an instance variable, that means a variable which is directly written under a class, not inside a method or not as parameters, then it becomes a class variable. So whenever static keyword is placed before a variable which is written directly under a class, then it becomes a class variable. So this is actually a class variable. This is not at all an instance variable. It can be called as an instance variable if you do not place the static keyword before it. But if you place the static keyword before it, then it becomes a static variable or class variable. You have to keep in mind that static variables are essentially global variables. Whenever objects of its class are declared, no copy of a static variable is made. Instead, all instances of the class share the same static variable. That means normally we do like we let me write it down here. suppose a class is there and we have declared an instance variable, say x, inside it. And if you want to access this x instance variable from another class, say another class is there named demo, and suppose from inside this demo class we want to access this x variable, then you have to create an object of this b class inside this demo class, and using that object you can access this instance variable. So this is what we normally do in case of an instance variable. But uh, whenever we create a class variable by including the static keyword before the variable declaration, then it becomes a class variable. And in order to access a class variable from another class, you don't need to create any object of that class. Moreover, suppose we have created three objects here of this B class inside this demo class. So all the three objects will have their own copies of this instance variable of class B. We know that every object gets its own copies of the members of a class. That means if we create three objects, say ob1, ob2 and ob3, if all are of the B class, then we can say that ob1 will get a unique copy of x inside it, ob2 will get another unique copy of x inside it, and ob3 will get another unique copy of x inside it. But in case of class variable, this is not the case. Whenever you will be creating instances or objects of a class, then no copy of the static variable will be made. Unlike the instance variables, all the instances or all the objects of that class will share the same static variable. That means if you make this key variable static, so x should be shared by ob1, ob2 and ob3. No copies of x will be made, which will be passed to the three objects ob1 and ob2 and ob3, uh, unlike instance variables. That means x will be shared by all these three objects. So this is the difference between static variable and instance variables, or class variables and instance variables. You have to keep in mind that the difference lies in the concept of object creation. You don't need to create an object to call a class variable from another class, but you have to create an object to call an instance variable from another class. And moreover, instance variables copies are being passed to the objects, and every object will get its own unique copy of the instance variables. But in case of class variables, no copies are being made. The same class variable is being shared among all the objects of that class that you will be creating. So this is the main difference between instance variable and class variable. Now let's see how a static method can be used. So whenever a method is declared as a static, then that method becomes a static method. Say for example, we are taking a method, a void method, say void show. The name of the method is show and no parameters I have given. The return type is void. If I write static keyword before it, then it becomes a static method. This is the body of the static method. But whenever you are declaring a method as static, you have to keep in mind that there are several restrictions implied on the static methods. The first one says that one static method can only call another static method. The second one says that one static method can only access static data. That means they can only call static variables. And the third one says that they cannot refer to this or super keyword in any way. This keyword you have already learned, and super keyword you will learn in the inheritance chapter. So these are the three restrictions that you have to keep in mind whenever you will be creating a static method. That one static method can only call other static methods. A static method can only access static data. Static data means the data we know that are stored in variables. So a static method can only call static variables, and this or super keyword cannot be used in conjunction with static methods. So these are the three restrictions that you have to keep in mind while using static methods. Now, you know what is a block. You have already learned about blocks. Till now, you have learned about blocks like, say, this one. This one is a class block. Here, the block starts in this opening brace, and here the block ends in this closing brace. So this is the class block. Similarly, this one is the class block. So we can say that this is the block of class B. Similarly, if you write if block, if condition, the opening and closing braces of this if condition marks the if block. So this is actually if block. So this is how you can also create some loop blocks where you will see that blocks of while loops or do while loops or for loops will be created, or you can also create switch blocks. So basically whatever code is written within the opening and closing braces is called a block. Now you can also write a block using the name static like this. So this is a static block. That means the name of the block is static itself. So this is a block which is static. That means this is static block. That means we are giving a name to this block which is static. Here we are not giving a name because we are writing some code in order to do some programming. That's why it automatically generates a block. This is if block because we are writing this if statement. Here we are writing this class declaration. That's why it is automatically generating a block, class B block. But here we are explicitly writing a block and we are giving it a name static. This thing you can do in Java. You can name some particular blocks like this, and here the name that I have given, that is static block. In some next lectures you will see that some other kind of names can also be given to a block, like finally block, which you will learn in exception handling chapter. So this is what we can do in Java, that we can name a block, and here we are giving the block name as static. Now static blocks have certain characteristics. We all know that a program execution starts from main. Whether it is a C programming language or C++ or Java, always the program execution starts from main. But in case of static block, if you are using static block in your program, then this static block will be used before the main method executes. That means the static block will be called by the JVM before it calls main method. So this is the speciality of using static block in a program. So whenever you want to do some operations before the main method executes, you can write down those operations inside the static block so that they gets executed even before the main method executes. So this is a special characteristic of static block which is very much important in case of Java programming. Whenever you want to write down some code that should get executed before the main method executes, you can obviously write that piece of code within the static block. So it may come to your mind that if we can execute static block even before main method executes, then obviously we can execute a program without main. That means we can write whatever we want to write inside the static block, and we are not writing the main method in that program, then also it will get executed. But previously in Java version 1.6 and before, you can obviously run a Java program without writing main. You can obviously write that piece of code inside the static block. Before the main method executes, static block executes. So using the concept, the codes that are written inside the static block get executed. But from Java 1.7, this feature has been obsolete. Now you have to use a main method in a program. If you want to execute something before main executes, then you can put that code inside the static block, but after that main method should get executed, otherwise your program is not going to run. So this is what Java has make made changes, where you can see that you have to use a main method. Without main method, even if the static block executes, the program will not run. But that is not the case of the Java versions 1.6 or before. But from 1.7, you have to use the main method, otherwise your program is not going to run. So now let's do a program which will illustrate the use of static variables, static methods, and static blocks. After that, we will see how classes can also be made static. So this is a program which demonstrates the use of static variables, methods, and blocks. Here you can see that only one class is there, which is useStatic. This is our main class because the main method is written here inside the useStatic class, and that's why I have given the file name as useStatic and the extension is .java. Here you can see that two static variables are declared, then a static method is written, then a static block is declared, and after that the main method is there. So let me explain this program one by one. So the program execution here will be a bit different, as I have already told that static block will be executed even before main method executes. But one thing that you have to keep in mind, that before the static block executes, the static variables will be executed. That means the static variables, the declaration of the static variables will take place before the static block executes. That means here the order of execution will be, at first these two static variables will be declared, and just like a constructor initializes the instance variables with all zeros, static keyword also initializes the variables with all zeros. So in this program, at first, the static variables a and b will be declared and will be filled with all zeros. That means a will contain 0 and b will contain 0. Here you can see that main method is still not executed. As static keyword executes before main method, that's why the execution will start from static variable declaration in this program. After that, the static block will be executed. After that, main method will be executed, which will call the static method in turn, and then this static method will be executed. So here in this program, the sequence of execution is a bit different. It is not like the other programs that you have previously done, where you have seen that all the programs executes from main. But here, the program execution will obviously start from the static variable declaration. Whenever you are declaring a variable as static, they will be initialized with all zeros by default. That means whenever these declarations will be executed, A and B will contain 0, 0, 0. But after that, we are writing an initialization statement where a value 3 is assigned into the variable A. That means 3 will actually override the 0 that has been stored inside A, as because it is a static variable. But inside the static int b, this statement declaration, here we can see that no assignment is taking place. That's why b will contain just 0, as because it is declared as static. So these are the two statements that will be executed at first. After that, the program control will be transferred to the static block. That means the static block will be executed first after the static variable declarations take place. Inside this, we have printed a simple statement, static block initialized. Whatever you can do inside a method or inside a constructor or inside any block, whatever code you can write, whatever you can do, you can also do the same things inside a simple block named as static. So here a simple system.out.println statement is written inside which static block initialized has been printed. So this is the first output that you will see on screen. After that, a statement is written where the variable b has been assigned a value a into 4. So a is now 3. So 3 into 4, 12. 12 will be assigned into b. But when it was declared as static. That means b used to contain 0. Now b contains 12. So 12 will overwrite this 0. So static block execution is complete. Now JVM will call this main method. Inside this main method, the method has been called. As you can see that the method meth has been called without any object because of two things. One is that meth method and main method both are written inside the same class useStatic, so no need to create any object. Another thing is that this is a static method. This meth method is a static method and main is also a static method. I have already told that while using a static method, you have to keep in mind some restrictions, which says that a static method can only call other static method. So here you can see that main is a static method. So main can only call other static methods. Here inside main, a static method meth is called. That's why no object creation is required. But if meth method was not declared as static, then you have to create an object of this useStatic class inside the main method in order to call this meth method from inside main. Even if both of them were in the same class, then also you should have to create an object of this class inside the main method because meth is not declared as static. But this is not the case here. Meth is declared as static. That's why you don't need to create any object of this useStatic class inside the main method. That means if you are not declaring it as static, that means if you are declaring it like this, which becomes a non-static method. So this method cannot be accessed from main because a static method can only call other static methods directly. So main cannot call this non-static method. In order to call this non-static method from within this main, what you have to do is that you just have to create an object of this useStatic class like this inside main. And using that object, you can obviously call this meth method from inside main. But because this meth method has been declared as static, you don't need to create any object. You can directly call this meth method just like this from inside the main method because a static method can easily call another static method directly. So whenever this meth method will be called, the this method will be executed, the program control will be transferred to here, and inside it the value of x will be printed. The value of x is this one. 42 has been passed as an argument and that will be stored into x. So if you print the value of x, it will give you 42. Then the value of a will be printed as 3, and then the value of b, which has been computed as 12 here in this statement, will be printed on screen. So you can see four statements as output. The first one is static block initialized, then the value of x, then the value of a, and lastly the value of b will be printed on screen. So here in this program, you have seen a different thing where you have seen that the execution is not starting from main. Instead, the execution is starting from static variable declaration. After that, the static block gets executed, and after that, this main method is executed. And whenever this main method is executed, as there is a call being made to the meth method from inside the main method, so the program control will be transferred to this method, and the code written inside its body will be executed. So this is the flow of execution of this program. So now let's see its output. So just as I told, there are four statements in the output. The first one is static block initialized, which has been printed from inside the static block. Then the method, which is a static method, has been executed. And the three statements that are written inside the method have been printed, which gives you x equal to 42, a equal to 3, and b equal to 12. So this is how static keyword can be used before a variable, before a method, or before a block. You have to keep in mind that if you are using all of these in a single program, then the flow of execution of the program will get changed. At first, the static variables will be executed, then the static block, and then main method, and then the rest of the program will be executed. Now let's see how a static variable and a static method can be accessed from another class. In this program, you have seen all the things inside the same class use static. Now let us write down two classes in a program and let us access static variables and static methods of one class from another class. So this is a program that demonstrates the same thing that I just told. The static demo class is a class which contains two static variables a and b. Both of them have been assigned with values 42 and 99. Then a static method is declared which will print the value of a. Then inside the static by name class, we have written the main method. So this is the main class, and inside it the call me method has been called, as well as the b variable has been accessed in order to print its value. Now let's see how the flow of execution will take place in this program. As we all know that static variable declaration statements will be executed above all, even before the main method executes. So in this program, these two statements will be executed first. That means static int a and static int b. These two variables will be declared first, and as they are declared as static, so they will be initialized with all zeros. Then when another assignment operation will take place, so 42 will overwrite the value 0 inside a. Similarly, 99 will overwrite the value 0 of p. After that, no static block is there, so the program control will directly be transferred to this main method, which is inside the static by name class. Inside this main method, you can see that the call me method has been called. Now we all know that if a method has been declared as static, then in order to access that method, you don't need to create any object. That means in order to access this call me method, you don't need to create any object. So we have not created any object of this static demo class inside this main class. What you have to do is that in order to call this call me method, you have to use the class name. So whenever you are doing it inside the same class, then if the method is being called from another static method, then you don't need to create any object. But whenever you are doing into different classes, you have to call one static method from inside another static method using the class name. As you all know that a static method can only call other static methods. So main is a static method. It can easily call this call me method, which is also a static method. And in order to call it, you don't need to create any object. You just have to use the class name. So basically, in order to call one static method from another static method, and if the two static methods are in two different classes, you have to call it using the class name only. The class name means which class name? The class name of static demo. Static demo class name means where the call me method resides. The call me method resides inside the static demo class. So you just have to use the static demo class name here instead of an object name that we normally do in order to call a method. But as it is a static method, you just have to use the class name, then the dot operator, then the method name. And that's it. The call me method will be called. So whenever this call to this call me method happens, the program control will be transferred to here, and inside this call me method the value a has been printed. Now you can see that a is a static variable, and we know that a static method can only access static data. So as a is a static variable and call me is also a static method, so a can be accessed directly. No need to create any object. If a was not declared as static, then you have to create an object of the static demo class inside this call me method in order to access this a. But this is not the case here, as a is declared as static, so you can directly call a here like this. Now after this call me method has been called, the control will be transferred to main method again, and this statement will be executed where the value of b is printed. Now b again is a static data, and you are accessing this static data from inside a static method main, so no need to create any object. And as main and b both are in two different classes, so you have to use the class name of b variable. B is a variable of static demo class, so you have to use the class name here. So the syntax is like class name, then dot operator, then the variable name. Just like this, whenever you are accessing a static method here, you just have to use the class name, then the dot operator, then the method call. It is also same here. You just have to use the class name, then the dot operator, then the static variable name. So this will give you the value of b as output. So the first output you will see as the value of a, which is 42, and the second output that you will see is 99. Now let's execute the program to see the output. Just as I told that there will be two outputs, a equal to 42 and b equal to 99. So this is how static keyword can be used before a variable, before a method, and as a block. Now we will see how static keyword can be used before a class. But before going into that, let's discuss the concept of nested classes in Java. Then we will see how static keyword can be used before a nested class. Nested class means a class within class. Now you have already learned the concept of nested loops, nested switch statements, nested if statements, and so on. Today you will be learning the concept of nested class. The concept is more or less same. When you are writing a class within the scope of another class, then it becomes a nested class. Just like this, say you are using a for loop and you are writing another for loop inside the scope of one for loop. Say you are writing for int I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Then inside this for you are writing another for loop like int j equal to 0, j less than I, j plus plus. So this is how you can write a program in Java where this is the nested for loop and this is the outer for loop. The same thing, the same concept can be applied on a class also. Suppose we are writing a class like this, and inside this class body, inside the scope of this class body, we are writing another class. Then this class B is the nested class. This class B is nested inside the scope of this A class. So this is here the outer class. That means nested classes are written inside the scope of the outer classes. So this is the basic concept of nested classes, and nested classes can be divided into two categories in Java. One is static nested class and another one is non-static nested class, which is known as inner class. So this is what I was telling. Nested class can be divided into two categories, static nested class and non-static nested class. Now, when static keyword is placed before a class name, before a nested class name, it becomes a static nested class. And if you don't write the static keyword before a nested class name, it becomes a non-static nested class. Non-static nested classes are also known as inner class. So this category is also known as inner class. Now, if we place static keyword before a nested class, then some problems will arise. Then you will see that why we don't use static keyword before an outer class name. But before going into that details, let me explain nested class properties in brief. Here I have written a small program. So this program will not be executed. Let me explain why. This A is the outer class. The small a is the instance variable of this outer class which contains a value 10. And this show method is a method of this outer class which will print the value of the variable b. This b is the variable of this inner class. This b is the inner class. Let me write it down. This one is the inner class and this one is the outer class. So b is the inner class and this small b is the instance variable of this inner class which we want to print from this outer class. Now this math is a method. Here you can see that we want to print the value of a inside it. A is the instance variable of this outer class. Now the concept of inner nested class say that inner class, this is inner class because this is a non-static nested class. Here we have not put the static keyword before it. That's why it is a non-static nested class, which is also known as inner class. Now the concept of inner class and nested classes are same. The concept of nested class says that the nested class can directly access the members of the outer class, but the vice versa is not true. That means the outer class cannot directly access the contents of the nested class. In order to access the members of the nested class from the outer class, you have to create an object of the nested class inside the outer class, and using that object you can easily access the nested class members. But if you want to directly access nested class members from inside the outer class, that's not going to compile because that will give you an error, because this thing doesn't happen in Java. That means nested class can directly access outer class contents, but outer class cannot directly access nested class contents. If you want to access nested class contents from outer class, you have to create an object of the nested class inside the outer class, and using that object you can easily access the nested class contents. So here in this program, this statement will execute perfectly, but this statement is going to give you an error. Here error will be thrown because b is the variable of this nested class or inner class b, and you cannot directly access b from an outer class because it is a member of the inner class. But here a is the member of the outer class and inner class or nested class can directly access outer class members. So this a variable, accessing this a variable here is very much okay. But this statement is not okay because outer class cannot directly access inner class contents. If you want to access this b variable here, you have to create an object of this inner class or nested class like this here, and using this small b, let me give it some other name so that no confusion takes place. Suppose the object name is bb, and using this bb you can access this instance variable here like this. You cannot do it directly. So this is the concept of nested class, which says that a class declared or defined inside the scope of another class is known as nested class, and outer class cannot directly access nested class contents, but nested class can directly access the outer class contents from inside it. Now let's see, if we place static keyword before a nested class, then what will happen? One more thing before going into the static nested class, that is how the compilation will take place of this program. So let me tell you how the inner mechanism of the compilation takes place. What is the inner mechanism and how the bytecodes and dot class files are created when you will execute this program. Then after writing a program, I'll show you how to execute an inner class program or nested class program. So whenever this program will be compiled normally, just using the Java C compiler, then two dot class files will be created. We know that in a program, if you compile a program, dot class files will be created for those classes which will be there inside the program. If a program contains 5 classes, then 5 dot class files will be created. Here there are 2 classes inside this program. A is the outer class. So for this A class, 1 dot class file which is A dot class will be created. And here this B is the another class, but which is a nested class. So dot class file, one dot class file for this B class will also be created, but not like any other outer class. Because it is a nested class which is defined inside the scope of the outer class, the dot class file that will be created for this nested class will be like this. The outer class name, dollar sign, after that, sorry, this will be capital B. After that, nested class name, then the dot class extension. That means this is the dot class file for the nested class or inner class, whatever you say. As because inner class doesn't exist without outer class, that's why this is how the dot class file will be created, and this will be the name of the dot class file name for the inner class or nested class. So now let's do a program which will demonstrate how static keyword can be used before a nested class. This is a simple program that has a static variable containing a value 30 inside this test outer 2 class. This is the outer class. Inside this outer class, we have declared a nested class, which is a static nested class because static keyword is written inside before it. Inside this static nested class, a static method is written, which will just print the value of the data variable. We know that a nested class can easily call its outer class members directly, no problem in it. So data is the instance variable of the outer class, and it is being called from inside the nested static nested class. So no problem in it. This is the main method, and from inside the main method, we have called this message method, which is there inside the inner class, which is there inside the test outer 2 class. So the call should be written like outer class name, then dot operator, then inner class name or nested class name, then another dot operator, then the method that you want to call. Now, because this inner class is a static nested class, here this class is a static nested class. So you don't need to create any object here inside main in order to call this class or in order to call this static method message. You just have to use the class name. Just as I explained in the previous program, where you have seen that in order to call a static method or a static class, you don't need to create any object. You just have to use the class name before it. That's what we are doing. You don't need to create any object in order to call message method. You just have to use the class name inner before it. And as inner is written inside the scope of the outer class test outer 2, that's why that outer class name is also written. And this is how the call to this message method has been made by using the syntax outer class name dot static nested class name dot then static method. So this is the syntax for calling a static method. Now here the problem will arise when you want to access the contents of the nested class from inside the outer class. We know that we can do it, but here you cannot do it. Why? Because if you want to access this message method from inside the test outer to class, you will have to use an object of the nested class in order to access message method, because you know that you can access nested class contents from inside the outer class, but only if you are creating an object of the nested class inside the outer class body. If you are not creating any object, if you want to directly access nested class contents from inside the outer class, that you cannot do. That means if you want to access the message method from inside this test outer to class, you have to create an object of this nested class inside this test outer to class, and using that object you can easily call this message method. But this nested class is declared as static, and if it is declared as static, then no use of creating an object of it. Similarly, message method has also been declared as static, so in order to call it, you don't need to create any object. That means contradictory statements are there. So outer class has to use an object of this nested class in order to call this method of the nested class. But here the nested class is declared as static, so you cannot create an object. Similarly, the method of the nested class has been declared as static also, so you cannot call this method using an object. That means from inside this test outer to class, you cannot access this message method. That's why we are accessing it from here. So this is the problem of using static keyword before the nested class name. If you want to access the nested class contents from inside the outer class, that you cannot do if you declare a nested class as static, as because you cannot create an object of it. So this is why we don't generally use the concept of static nested class, and for the same reason we don't generally use the static keyword in case of outer classes, because you know that outer classes should have access to other classes if requirements are so, but if it is declared as static, you cannot create any object of that class inside another class in order to access it. This is the reason we don't generally use static keyword before an outer class or before a nested class. The best known version of nested class is inner class, which is the non-static nested class. So now we will see how non-static nested classes are used, and how to write a program that will implement the concept of non-static nested class. But before going into it, let's see how many non-static nested classes you can write. What are the categories, or what are the types of non-static nested class that can be used in Java? So these are the types of non-static nested class or inner classes. So this you can see that this is the inner class or nested class, non-static and static. The static version I just discussed about, and I also told why the static version is not much used. What are the problems of using static nested classes or static inner classes? Now the non-static inner class is of three types. The first one is instance inner class, then local inner class, then anonymous inner class. All these three are very much important, but I am not going to discuss about anonymous inner class today, as because it needs the concept of interface. So I'll discuss anonymous inner class after the lecture of interface. So today I'll discuss about the first two only. So let us see how the instance inner class can be used in Java. using a program. So this is a program that will demonstrate how non-static nested class or inner class, or more specifically instance inner class, can be used. The name is instance inner class because we have to create an instance of the inner class inside the outer class in order to access inner class contents from inside the outer class contents. That's why the name is instance inner class. So let's explain this program from the beginning. This is the outer class, and inside it a variable named outer x has been declared, and it has been assigned a value 100. This is an instance variable which is of integer type. Inside this test method, we have created an object inner of this inner class, and using this object inner we have called the display method of this inner class. So this is the inner class where you can see that a display method has been written, which will print the value of the outer x variable. Now, outer x is a variable of the outer class. As we know that inner class can directly access outer class members. So the call to this outer x variable is perfectly okay here. But if you want to call this display method from inside this outer class, you have to create an object of this inner class like this. That's what I have done here. And using the object, we have called the display method. This is the main method. This is the main class. Inner class demo is the main class. This is the main method. And here we have created the outer class object. This is the outer class object. And using the outer class object, we have called the test method. The test method is the outer class method. So this is how the program works like. Now let's execute the program to see the output. So this is what the output looks like, which will print the value of the outer x variable, which is 100, and this variable is the outer class variable. That means in this program, what actually happens is that the execution starts from main, then the outer class object has been created. Using the object, the outer class test method has been called. Inside the test method, inner class object has been created, and using that object, the inner class method display has been called, which will actually print the value of outer x. That's why you can see the value of outer x, which is 100, as output. So this is how the instance inner class works like. This is called instance inner class because in order to access the inner class method display, you have created an object of this inner class inside the scope of the outer class. That's why it is known as instance inner class. Now I have already told that the outer class cannot directly access inner class contents. If it wants to do so, then it has to create an object of the inner class inside its own body. Now, let's see another program to demonstrate what happens when the outer class wants to access the inner class contents without creating any object. So this is a program that is not going to compile. Let me explain the program. This is the outer class variable which contains a value 100. This is the outer class method which inside which we have created an object of the inner class in order to access inner class method display. This is the inner class and this is the inner class variable. That means this y variable is local to this inner class block only. Whenever you are coming out from the inner class block, the variable y will have no existence. This is the inner class method display, which will be called from the outer class method test using the object of the inner class in order to print the value of the outer x variable, which is the outer class variable, and its value is 100. That will be printed on screen. Now there is another method, show y. You can see that this is the closing brace of the inner class. That means the inner class has been ended here. So whenever we are writing this void show y method, that means we are writing it inside the outer class. And inside this outer class method, we want to print the value of y. Y is the variable of the inner class, and the inner class block is ended here, and you want to access the value of the variable y from here inside the show y method, which is a method of the outer class without any object of the inner class. So this is not going to execute, this is not going to compile even, this is going to give you an error. So as because y is not known here, because y is the variable of the inner class which is local to the inner class block. Whenever you come out from the inner class block, the value of the variable will have no existence. So y is not known here. That's why if you want to access y from here, it is not going to compile. It is going to give you error. Now let's execute the program to show you what kind of errors this program will give you. As you can see that the error that has been given here is that cannot find symbol. This is the error description. This is the line number where the error has happened, and this is the file name. And this is the position which is being indicated by this arrow where the error has actually happened. Because y variable is not known, that's why it is saying cannot find symbol. And if you want to access y variable, still you have to create an object of the inner class, and using the object you can easily access y variable here. That means if you want to access the y variable, you can easily create an object of inner class like this here, and using the object of the inner class which is I here, you can access the variable y here. Then in that case it's not going to give you any error. But remember that you have to create an object of inner class here. If you want to use this object, that's not going to work because this object has been created inside the scope of this method, and currently we are in some other method. So you have to create an object again of this inner class, and using that object you can easily access y here. Now let's execute the program to show you that if you do this, then this program will work fine. And in order to print the value of this y variable, you have to call this show y method of this outer class using this outer class object like this. So this statement has to be included in order to call this show y method in order to print this value of the y variable. Now let's execute the program now. So this is what the output looks like. This is the value of the variable outer x, and this is the value of the y variable that has been printed. So this is all about instance inner class. So you have seen that how instance inner class can be written inside a program, and how you can access the contents of outer class and inner class. So next we are moving on to local inner class. Local inner class means that the scope of the inner class is written, or the inner class block is written inside the scope of some loops or methods. Here we have seen that we are writing the inner class inside the scope of an outer class. But if we write the inner class block or the inner class body inside the scope of some method or some loop, then we call that a local inner class. Let's understand this concept with a program. This is a program which demonstrates the concept of local inner class, where you can see that local inner is the outer class and local is the inner class. This inner class has been defined. This is the inner class block. This has been defined inside the void display method. So you can see that this inner class local has been defined inside the scope of this display method. So this is the inner class which has been defined inside the scope of this display method. So one thing to be noted that if you are using a method local inner class, here the inner class is local to the display method. That's why it is called method local inner class. If you are using a method local inner class, then you cannot access this inner class from outside this method. That means if you want to access this inner class, inner class local from inside this outer class, the name of which is local inner, you cannot do that. You can only access this inner class local inside this display method. Whenever you are coming out from the display method, you can have no access to this inner class local. even if you are creating an object of local inside this outer class, then also you cannot access this local inner class. You can only access this local inner class inside this display method block. Outside this method block, you cannot access this local inner class. Now this message is the method of this inner class which will print the value of data. Now it shows that data is a private variable. So this program also demonstrates that whether it is a private variable or public or default or protected, any kind of variable of the outer class or any kind of member of the outer class can be directly accessed from inside the inner class. Whether it is an instance inner class or local inner class, in all the cases the outer class members are directly accessible. Whether it is a private member or public member or default or protected member, that doesn't matter. So data can be directly accessed from here. Now you can see that we have created an object L of this inner class local inside this display method. Here the inner class ends and here we are now. That means we are currently in the inside the display method. So we have created the object L inside the display method, and using that object we have accessed the message method, which is the inner class method. This is the main method. Inside the main method we have created the object of the outer class, which is local inner. This is the object of the outer class, and using the object we have called the outer class method display. So whenever this display method is called using the object, the control will be transferred to here. Inside the display method, compiler will find out that there is an inner class defined. Inside it, message method is defined, and inside it, data is printed. So this program is going to give you an output 30. So this is what I just told, that the program is going to give you an output 30, and that's what we can see on screen. So this is all about method local inner class. Another inner class that is remaining, which is anonymous inner class, that I'm going to teach you after interface chapter. So this is all about inner class and static keyword. You have seen that how you can use static keyword before a class, before a variable, before a block, as a block name, and before a class. And you have also seen that why we should not use any static outer class or inner class, what can be the problem. After that you have seen that how inner class can be accessed, what will happen if you compile an inner class, how the dot class files are created, how many types of inner classes are there. You have also seen the types of the inner classes using short programs, except the anonymous inner class. So in the next lecture, I'm going to tell you about command line arguments and wrapper classes, how they can be used in order to take inputs from the during the runtime of a program or during the execution of a program, and how command line arguments are very much useful to do a Java program. Thank you for listening to today's lecture. See you in the next lecture.